Hello, everyone, and welcome to Secrets from the Hidden Vault. I go by the Hidden Detective, but you can also call me Mark for short. I'm very excited to get into today's topic, which is the 3D Shantae tech demo that was released to the public in actually last year in February of 2024. But before that, I just wanted to get into a little bit about my channel. So my channel is sort of like an addition to my blog, The Hidden Vault, and it's there where I talk about some of the very like obscure, not very well known, and sometimes very inappropriate topics in entertainment and culture. And it can be anything from video games to cartoons, films, and even literature. But I sort of got the idea for my blog and now my channel because several years ago I would collect these like joke drawings or like gag or storyboard jam drawings of that animators would make of their like franchises, and it was pretty cool. Sometimes it could be very weird and inappropriate, but and I just like just learning like the idea, like why would anyone do that. And a lot of people just sort of a lot of people in like the comments would say, it's just stress. It's just what animators do. But I like the learning about the sort of joke drawings that artists and animators and designers do, because it just shows them that they're human. It shows what they do when they're not having to work on deadlines or work on their projects, like what they really like behind the scenes, and stuff like that, and like blooper reels that really interests me. And I just want to showcase more of the sort of very obscure entertainment content to the wider world. So that's sort of like the my purpose behind the blog. And and I already have some very popular posts on my blog, like concerning the joke drawings. I made posts about the Rugrats storyboard jam drawings, as well as or the storyboard jam drawing, as well as the drawings from the SpongeBob Behind Closed Door book, which was pretty cool. You should check both of those out and more on my blog. I've included a link in the description of this video, but that's just a little bit of backstory. So I'm very excited. Like, I've done YouTube before, but this is still sort of just brand new to me. But I'm very excited to start this channel, and without further ado, let's just get into today's video. I've always been a big fan of the Shantae series ever since I played the first game, Shantae 1 for the Game Boy Color, back like several years ago when I was, I believe, still in in college. But it was just a fun game. It really had like Disney Aladdin vibes, and when I first played it, I thought it was like an Aladdin game, but you know, I was surprisingly it was very different, but very enjoyable. And since then, I played like all the games, especially the last game, Risky Revolution, which I just played like a few weeks back. But it's a very fun series. I would definitely recommend you all check it out. But I wanted to talk about something very cool, which is the 3D tech demo that was released to the public in February of last year. I believe the date is February 23rd, 2024, and this is according to the Hidden Palace website, which is a website where you can go and look at sort of like prototypes of like different games, whether they're released or not. So it's like a new website that I use in addition to the cutting room floor. So it's pretty cool. But so the game, according to the Hidden Palace, the game had or I guess I should say the prototype, because it's an unreleased game, but the prototype had a build date of January 5th, 2007, and the file for the prototype was first released on February 23rd, 2024 by the user Leapfrog, and he got it from a WayForward lot, and WayForward is the developer of the Shantae series. But in addition to the tech demo, he also uncovered some other like hidden gems, including some like source code, or I believe like in prototype for like other games such as Contra 4, DuckTales Remastered, and American Dragon, Jake Long, Rise of the Hunts Clan. And the cool thing about American Dragon is, I believe I read somewhere on like Reddit I'll try to find it if I can. I don't know where it is now, but someone was talking about that the unused assets for Shantae, the 3D Shantae tech demo game, were used for American Dragon. But again, I can't really confirm that. I just read that somewhere, so if someone wants to correct me, but it's just very cool. This person was able to find all these other games in addition to Shantae, and they even uncovered some, I believe, a prototype for Shantae Risky's Revenge, which is another cool game too. But so that's how that sort of prototype, got into the public sphere. But now let's talk more about the tech demo, more specifically. So on the screen here, you're looking at two models of Shantae in the tech demo. One is a high polygon of her, and one is a low polygon. And the high polygon looks pretty good, but they look both of course look the same. But this is what the character looks like in the demo, and she actually looks very good. Her ponytail, I believe, is it's a little smaller than I would like. It's pretty interesting, kind of funny, but yeah, overall she does look kind of good. And so in the demo itself, there's going to be like a menu you're going to see, and so there's like 4 different areas or tests. The first test is actually of her dancing, which is pretty cool, and the other 3 are more like show off probably what the gameplay will be like. And there's videos on YouTube of people actually playing the demo, which is actually pretty neat. They get to like move the character around. But so the first test is just Shantae just dancing, and I don't know if you can really interact or is it just like probably just a video. But the second test, which is called platformer, is a 2.5 or 2.5 D platformer. So it's basically her moving sort of in like a 2-dimensional side scroller, but with 3D elements. The third one is a actual like full roaming 3D area where she's moving around in a big gray 3D sandbox, which is very neat. And the last one, the Diablo, is very it's very interesting. It's a top-down perspective, but I think you could only like jump and move the camera with her, and she could jump indefinitely, but there's not really too much to the Diablo one. So it's sort of interesting like how that would have been included in like the final game if this was ever released. It is incredible to think about that they are able to almost make a fully fledged 3D game after the original game released in 2002. And in fact, of course, from the Hidden Palace, we see the build date, which is January 5th, 2007, but it was even before Risky's Revenge, which was released in 2010. So even after the first game, they were already, WayForward was already working on apparently a 3D Shantae game. And it's pretty cool to think about. We could have finally got like a 3D Shantae game. And if most people don't already know, but when they were working on the first game, it was supposed to be, I believe, for the PlayStation at the time. This would have been around like the late 1990s, like 1996. But the game back then was actually supposed to be in full 3D, and I still kind of wish we would have got that sort of game, like a 3D sort of Shantae game. And it was already announced just recently that they're working on another game like Shantae 7, which we know pretty much nothing about other than like one like sort of design that they showcased. But and hopefully it looks like it's going to be in that 2D format, 2D like HD format, which is still pretty nice. But it's sort of cool. Like we could have got a 3D Shantae game, and I'm still hoping that once in the near future we'll get like a full 3D Shantae game. But that's it for now, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.